Okay, we're gonna get started. So, um, this is great. Let's see. I need to mute a couple of things. And yeah, so here we go. Let's see if I can quit being so shaky. I'll switch over to my other keyboard. This desk that I have set up in Costa Rica is not the best desk. Maybe I'll get a better desk in the not too distant future. So we'll see. So yeah, it looks like we've got a couple of people on the live stream right now, and happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I think I'm going to spend this time looking at a project that I saw kind of blow up on Hacker News this morning called exe.dev, and thought that would be kind of interesting to look over. I don't know all the details about it, and so thought that might be neat to look at. So yeah, this is what I'll do. I'm going to, let's see, can I paste? Yeah. This is what I'll be looking at. So, actually, you know what? It's from Crawshaw's blog. Yeah, so I'll share my screen. So, David Crawshaw is or I guess was the CTO over at Tailscale, which I guess if folks don't know, Tailscale is this really cool VPN that I'm a big fan of. I've used it in a bunch of, like, both for personal and professional settings. There's a client that I'm working with right now that actually is a Tailscale user as well. And if you haven't gotten familiar with this, it's pretty neat. It's got a very nice free tier, especially for personal use. But what really becomes powerful about it is when you start wanting to have a what they call a tailnet, or sort of a mesh network that you, or a sort of private network that you can extend across cloud providers, personal computers. It kind of blurs the line between where something runs and what you have access to, and gives you this really nice management layer that, sure, we can call it a VPN, but it's kind of a different mindset. If you can represent all nodes on the tailnet, you end up having some really nice aspects to it. You don't have to worry about, bridging subnets and all these other things, but of course you can bridge subnets and do all this stuff as well. And I've been using it actually for some personal agentic stuff. So I've been working with a project with a CTO of one of the companies that I'm working with, and he's been building a tool that lets you just spin up lightweight VMs and put all of your dev environment stuff that you'd want in there, and just, you can like spin them up and blow them away, give them very low privilege, low context. And Tailscale is just like an important part of that, where you can, if you have this running on a Mac Mini, or if you're running it in a cloud provider. I actually run mine off of Proxmox, which is a great little hypervisor tool that's open source. I run it off a little computer, and if it's represented on the Tailsnet, then I can access it whether I'm on my laptop at home or I'm out and about. So anyway, this comes out to be pretty cool. But the CTO from Tailscale has got a new company called exe.dev, and what's interesting is that they've just announced that they're fundraising. Also, shout out to this design of this blog. It's pretty great. And so yeah, so today we're fundraising. Today is a fundraising announcement day. The nature of writing a larger audience. It's a formal, safe announcement. And he's basically announcing that there's this sort of new way that he's focused on building stuff. And it's a pretty big shift back. As you may know, I'm a big fan of tools like Kubernetes. I'm a big fan of doing a lot of cloud architecture work. And there's been a fundamental shift in like what you want for agentic stuff. And there's a lot of formality. I mean, I've noticed this myself. There's a lot of formality in like just spinning up stateful resources, something that I want to have personal access to. I don't need to provision a bunch of like public server stuff, and everything's sort of like built for this, right? AWS is built so that I can spin up servers and run my WordPress website or my custom app for my startup. And you can see where this makes a lot of sense because if you're the CTO at Tailscale, you're making these private first mesh networks in which, you know, they're not meant to have public audiences and all these other things. You can see that, like, if I had this perspective and I wanted to build something that gave me access to virtual machines that really are just primarily for me, you can see where this perspective like comes up. And so I've just learned about this project. It looks like it's been he's been working on it for a bit. There's a Discord server that's up for it that I just joined and introduced myself to. But there's some really neat stuff. And so I thought I would take this office hours to learn a little bit about how exe.dev works and answer, if anybody has questions or wants to explore this with me as well, go for it. So I'm just going to dive in. And this might be a little bit boring if we don't ask questions, but who knows? Maybe it'll be kind of cool. So what we're all learning here is, SSH into exe.dev. And then fascinating. So it starts with an SSH session. Oh, that's really neat. I mean, that's a really cool idea of doing this. This is interesting because I just had a friend who was he's a software architect, and he is building a chat tool, like sort of as a replacement to something like Slack, that uses SSH as your auth layer to have something that feels like IRC in the terminal. And so if this is sort of the trend of where things are going, and we're going back to more command line first tool things, that's pretty neat. So oh man, I kind of want to spin up a terminal and see what things would look like. But yeah, let's take a look at this. We'll dig through the website, and then who knows, maybe we'll get exe.dev up and running. Let's see. So all you need is a computer. The cloud industry has long stated platforms. You don't need a platform. You need a computer. A normal Linux computer that can run whatever software you like. apt, systemd, OpenClaw, which I'm not a huge fan of OpenClaw, so won't be running that. But hey, there's lots of other cool things. We handle auth. Every VM you launch on exe.dev gets HTTPS and is behind an IAM. Okay, well, how does the IAM work? IAM is short for Identity and Access Management, typically. So let's look at this. User logged in this example. This is the daemon. SSH.dev terminates TLS and proxies you into your box. Okay, cool. That's neat. It proxies traffic to vname.exec.xyz to your VM seamlessly, handling certificates, TLS termination, and optionally offering basic authentication. By default, exec.dev attempts to automatically pick a good port. It works from the set of ports exposed by expose directive in a Docker file, preferring port 80 and falling back to the smallest exposed TCP port. You can change the port chosen with SSH exec.dev share port. Okay, cool. TLS and proxies to your box, including auth headers. Oh, that's kind of neat. Private versus public proxies. By default, only users with access to the VM can access the HTTP proxy. Users accessing HTTPS for the first time will be redirected, okay, to share your site publicly. Run SSH exec share. Oh, you know what? Why don't we just like dive into this? I'm going to pull up a terminal that you will not see because I don't know what terminal save things I can do. But let's do it. SSH exec.dev. Will this work from default, or do I need... Let's see what happens. exe.dev. Okay, cool. Enter your email address. Verify your email. Okay, so I'm verifying my email. And there we go. Sweet. And this is welcome to exe.dev. That was easy. Okay, so great. Why not? Okay, great. So that was super straightforward, very easy onboarding, and I love that it's SSH first. That is awesome. Okay, so let's see. Create your first VM. So new. So let's see, new. Just make me a new computer. So I'm just gonna say new. It's gonna just provision something. What I'll end up doing, okay, cool. So, oh, that's great. Cool. So let's see. So port 8000 is unbound. This is great. So I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, why don't we enable it? Let's go ahead and just do this. Warning, falling back to standard. Create symlink. Okay, cool. Enable Nginx. Neat. And then let's see. Let's see what this looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and SSH into that machine. And then let's go look at it. Oh, this is so cool. Let's see. I'm just checking out the Nginx config and seeing where it's sweet. Oh, that's super cool. Okay, well, I'll leave this here for now, and let's just follow more of the stuff that's going on while I'm building this. Okay, so Series A. That's super cool. By default, only users with access will have access to this. Request proxied by that. Okay, we have that. Additional ports. That is cool. Okay, let's go back then. So, to share a link, friends can use it. It handles TLS certificates, DNS, reverse proxy. This is so neat. Your disk is persistent. Your VM's disk survives reboots and updates. Install Postgres, SQLite, Redis, whatever you need. Your data stays where you put it. No ephemeral containers, no cold starts, no surprises. Agent Cloud. Okay, your agent needs a VM to build on to deploy apps to show their works. See, this is really interesting because the project that the CTO that I'm working with is working on, this actually would fit really nicely with the tool that he's building. He's been building a tool that basically makes it so that you can configure your agent way faster. Spinning up VMs that are kind of bare bones and easy to use and persistent is just sort of like a byproduct of what he was working on. So I actually think that this would be an incredible complement to what he's actually been working on and might make life a lot easier. Let's see. Teams for business. The team plan gives everyone on your team, okay, their own VMs with a shared burst capacity, admin controls, and single sign-on. That is super cool. So let's go to price. So, okay, so for an individual user, you get up to 50 VMs, 25 gigabytes of disk, and 100 gigabytes of data transfer. Let's see, additional. Okay, cool. But even though it's 100 gigabytes of data transfer, that's what's included. Additional is at 8 cents per gigabyte. So yeah, you're not doing Bitcoin mining on this stuff, but you definitely, if you're using this for agentic work, that is pretty awesome. And what happens if I go to, okay, so it looks like it scales with their multiple, and this makes total sense, right? 2 CPU and 8 gigabytes is this multiple, and you get that for $20 a month. 4 CPUs and 16 gigabytes doubles that cost. 8, so every doubling is a double of the price. So it just scales up linearly to that. It looks like you're still limited to 50 VMs. So, which again, that's a bunch. And you can imagine some really cool automation that would happen with this because you make it so cheap. I definitely am going to be experimenting with sub-process workers that could spin up, do just enough of its agentic stuff that it needs, and then put itself away. I mean, that these kind of things are great. It also gets one of the things I've really noticed about this that's been helpful is that it really helps with your OPSEC as well, right? If you make it, and this gets back to like principles of good stateless cloud architecture. If you make it super cheap to spin something up and then spin it back down, that practice of spinning things up and spinning things down makes it so much easier for you to reason about the system. And, one of the things that is kind of driven me crazy is that as people have been using Claude Code, they're getting these or OpenClaw or whatever. A lot of them are running it on their machines, or they're running it on something that is like long lived and persistent, and you end up getting attached to it, right? In cloud architecture, a lot of times we call this the snowflake, or the fact that you shouldn't be naming your servers, or you shouldn't be naming these things. And this pattern is really nice because you get to have these. You could have something long lived that's useful. That's fine, but you also can blow it away, right? You can have something that spins up with 50 VMs and this allotment. It would make me sleep better at night if I had something that had just enough access to a GitHub repo, had just enough access to the context and API keys and stuff that I needed to put in there. And I keep working on the patterns of just giving it least privilege to do its job and then go away, right? Give these sort of we've seen this in other areas, these intent-based development, right? Where I intend for this agent to do this set of tasks. I give it these constraints. I give it autonomy in certain areas. It has to get feedback if it needs feedback. And if I have something that sort of handles the network layer really intuitively and makes it super easy for the friction to be really low, this is really, really, really interesting. Okay, so let's look at the fine print in here. VMs share the resources allocated to the user pool. Okay, that makes total sense, right? So all of the resources allocated to the pool. In teams, users can use their teammates' resources as burstable capacity. Oh, that's clever, right? So imagine you have a team spread across the world, or imagine you have some bursty stuff, right? If we buy this capacity, and then for some short period of time, I guess you can kind of borrow from the earmarked capacity that's there. need something custom, contact us, right? They're early enough that they're going to listen, right? If you come up with an idea for things, and then of course, AWS VPC integrate. Okay, so probably under the hood they're using, I would be interested in what they're using, and maybe they're using AWS under the hood. If this has VPC integration, that's interesting. Or at least maybe that's just one of the optional interfaces for it. Single sign-on, these things of course are important for more of the enterprise and increasingly just business customers in general. Every plan includes a monthly allocation of Shelly tokens. That's cool. You can buy more in the billing section. Token pricing. What are Shelly tokens? Oh, interesting. Passkeys, access. Neat. Okay, so I can add in my other SSH keys. The one I actually set up for this is not the one I really want, so that's really cool. Okay. Region LAX. That's also interesting. I wonder what. Anyway. With the allocation of Shelly tokens, you can buy more in billing. Token pricing, tracks. We'll find out what Shelly tokens are in a little bit. I don't really know what those are. One price, no surprises. You get 2 CPUs, 8 gigs of RAM, which honestly, if you're running something like Claude Code, is more than enough, actually. I've definitely done some workloads that I needed more than 8 gigs, but less than 16. If I start relying on this, I'm probably going to be at the $40 a month VM level. But that would be really cool. This is something that I'm very, very interested in. Again, that project that I was helping with, I actually built the Proxmox integration for a provider for the backend, and I have a feeling I'm going to be building an exe.dev provider for this because this is freaking cool. Teams for business. Sweet. Okay, so this is the main part. Of course, this is also awesome. Filippo, I don't know if you're familiar, but he's a cryptographer and has been working on all the Go stuff. This is kind of wild. Yeah, it looks like he's been working with this stuff. I know he did a lot of work with Tailscale as well, and not surprised that he's in this community. I actually know this guy too. I ran across him with some blockchain stuff I was working on, so I need to catch up with him. Interesting. Okay, well, I'll have to take a deeper look at this. The pricing makes sense. Then we have the docs. I love doing these deep dives. So let's see. Subscription service that gives you virtual machines with a persistent disk quickly and without fuss. And that's true. I was able to set this up in like 2 seconds. These machines are immediately accessible over HTTPS with sensible and secure defaults. You can share your web server as easily as you can share a Google Doc. And that was true. I was able to do landing page for Nginx in like 2 seconds. With built-in optional authentication, so you can focus on your thing. Yeah, this is great. And actually, you know what? Let me, I'm going to look at something real quick. So if I have this, right? This is that endpoint. What happens if I'm going to go into another browser window you can't see? Okay, so I get, let me see if I can actually, so because these are private by default, if I go into an unauthenticated window, you can't see this. It actually says you need to log in to continue. So it is interesting. It will reveal that such a server does exist, right? Orca Grove will become something available. This is also interesting. This is a very similar naming convention to how tailnets work. Oh, you can't see this. Okay, I'm like highlighting the URL. Orchid Grove, this is a very similar naming convention, how you get a tailnet that's collision free. And so that just takes these two words and automatically generates it. This is fun. I'm going to be fanboying out over this, I think. Okay, yep, there's a Discord community, which I just joined, actually. It's pretty nice. It's very small. I was surprised. I thought there would be more people joining, but I don't think everyone's wrapped their head around this. I think that people kind of get set in their ways and they don't understand really new technologies sometimes. And I think this is one of those things. I think what we're witnessing here is the fact that sometimes people just don't know how to think about new stuff. So yeah, private versus public proxies. Okay, so we went over this. I can set this as public. I can set this as private. And by default, it is private. But it's cool. So I can make, if you want to just host something in like 2 seconds, you can just make this public and share it. That's really fun. That's a really, really fun thing. Okay, let's see. Request proxied by exe.dev includes standard X forwarding headers. So your application can reconstruct the original public request information. Okay, that's good to know. And that the proxy transparently forwards between 3,000 and 9,999. For example, if you are serving on port 356 on your VM, you can access the same thing okay, cool. So if you put your stuff on one of these ports, it's just going to transparently pass it through. That is great to know. Okay, you can only mark a single port public. Oh. You can only mark a single port public with share set public and share port commands. These alternate ports can only be accessed by users with access to the VM. Interesting. These are all cool. So I can only set one public port, and I would imagine per machine, right? And so each VM name comes up. You can only mark a single public port. Yeah, well, that's cool. That'll be neat. So sharing. You can share your VM HTTP port with your friends. You can make it public. You can add a specific email address. So share add. You can create a share link. And this generated link will allow anyone to access the page after they register and log in. Oh, cool. Okay, so this basically just gives them sort of like a one-time IC. So they share it, and it just does the handshake for you. So you just say, okay, here's the share link. They log in and register, and then it basically just streamlines this step where maybe you don't know the email address that they want specifically, but the share link will allow anyone to access the page after they register and log in. Okay, cool. So they're still registered and log in, and you still will be able to remove that. That's cool. Okay. Just use SSH. The simplest and most common approach is to create a VM and then use SSH. Makes total sense. This also is really funny. I wonder if the Ansible community is going to this is a very Ansible friendly way of doing stuff, and Ansible is not something I spend a lot of time thinking about anymore because I'm so in the Terraform and Kubernetes world. But this is cool. I mean, if you want proper configuration management, I would imagine you're going to use something that's kind of takes this SSH first approach, which is pretty neat. How do I copy files to and from my VM? Okay, and then they just teach you the basics of SCP. So that's fun. Use a Docker image, right? So SSH exec new image. Oh, that's cool. You can customize a Docker image, publish it, and create new VMs using it. Docker file is, oh, neat. What is this? Oh, neat. This is I'm definitely starring this repo. So this is the default base image for exec.dev. It's kitted out for developers based on Ubuntu 24.4. and includes systemd. We believe that the minimal containers make for terrible developer and agent experiences. So exe.dev includes a lot of stuff, mostly from apt. You can take a look at it here. Okay, so let's take a look at what are we doing in here? Obviously, CA certs, wget, ripgrep, which is phenomenal project. If folks don't know about this, it's just like superpowers. Obviously, Git, JQ, SQLite, curl, Vim, NeoVim, smart. This is important. Nginx, make, Python, tree, and all civilized humans should be using that. NetTools, file, build essentials, pip. Yep. BSD admin tools. Neat. Man in the middle proxy, man pages, Ubuntu server. Okay, Git's in here. Huh. That's funny. Hey, if you want you want to get some street cred, just, do small fixes like this where get gets pulled in twice. Let's see. Obviously the GitHub command line tool. Yep. Okay. Oh, then we're removing some stuff. Okay, and then, oh, cool. So Tailscale is being installed. That's interesting. Install Tailscale. This must be run after CA certs. Huh. I'm definitely going to save this page because this is really, really interesting. Configuring systemd. There's a bunch of stuff that's happening for that. This is cool. Okay. This is just really well thought out. When was the last time this was touched? 18 hours ago. Okay, so this is like actively being developed. What is bold software? Interesting. Okay. And this also gets a follow. Shelly is a coding agent. Yeah, this is so funny. I don't know anything about what's happening in this world. Shelly is a mobile-friendly, web-based, multi-conversation, multimodal, single-user coding agent built, but not exclusive, to exe.dev. It does not come with authorization or sandboxing. Mobile-friendly. This is neat. I'm going to have to check this out too. Gosh, there's so many cool things here. Yeah, we're just learning as we go. I can't believe there's so much cool stuff here. Where am I going back to? Okay. So you can customize a Docker image, publish it, and create new VMs using it. This is interesting. I wonder are they using Docker? Is this actually running inside of Docker, or is this doing what fly.io does, which is using a Docker file as a manifest and actually running these like micro VMs that are on top of it? I'd be really interested to see what's actually happening, and maybe they get into that and maybe they don't. Setup scripts. The exec, I'm guessing it's exe.dev. If I'm butchering that, please correct me. exe.dev/setup at first boot once. This file can be specified with new setup script as well as cat script. Okay, so I can cat my script into SSH and just pass it in that way. Oh, cool. So if you just pass in neat. So if I cat my script, pipe it into sshdev defaults right dev.exec new.setup script, then that will just push that into there. Oh, this is so well designed. This is cool. It's easiest to create a script and pipe it into a new command. Okay, so I have this cat setup.ssh, ssh exec.dev new. Huh, very cool. You can do it in as one-liner as well. Right, of course. Of course. Or multi-line, sure. Great. Okay, what's next? Custom domains. Oh, neat. What do I do for that? You can point your own domain to exec.dev VMs. TLS certificates are issued automatically. To point your domain at an exec.dev VM, edit the records in your domain DNS. Which records you need to edit depends on your subdomain. Okay, so if I have app.example.com, what do? I just do a CNAME. Really, that's it. Okay, CNAME to the vname.exec.xyz. Let's see, for Apex domains, like example.com, you need 2 DNS records. So I'd need a CNAME for www, and then I make an A record. However, many providers offer a convenient way to maintain record with alias, and that is true. So, okay, so that makes sense. So many others will allow this alias command, and that's if you're on Route 53. Oh yeah, cool. They give you, so Cloudflare CNAME, Route 53, Google. If you're on Namecheap, they also have that. This is great. This is really great. So we just do that, and I guess it detects Cloudflare disable proxy mode or configure snippets. If you're using Cloudflare for DNS, they tend to default you to a proxied or Orange Cloud rather than DNS only. Cloudflare's proxy replaces your desired CNAME. Oh, this is funny. Somebody recently in our Discord mentioned Orange Cloud, and I didn't quite get the reference, and that's funny. They were talking about Cloudflare. Exec.dev is unable to generate TLS certificates for wildcard domains. This is fine. This is actually not a good idea anyway. You shouldn't really be doing that. So you should be very explicit. Yes, exactly. There's just lots of reasons that that's bad in this context. You can leverage exec.dev's authentication system. Okay. Right. So the same auth system that you use to log in is actually what is used for your proxy, which makes it super nice. That makes it so easy. Okay, cool. When a user is authenticated, okay, a stable unique user identifier, and then the user's email address. The following headers are added to requests coming into your VM. Oh, that's neat. So there isn't anonymous access. So, this is a good example of like what kind of workloads they are intending this for. But you if somebody's accessing your server, you get to see the unique user ID and the email address associated with that, which is super nice, This is not meant for you to be like hosting the next big social media network. This is for you to share out, some resources or something that you're working on. I could imagine this is really cool for like prototyping, and sharing stuff that way, and that'd be super powerful. And yeah, you'd want to be able to audit that in a nice, clean way. When a user is authenticated. Oh yeah, I take that back. So if it's private, you will always get this. If it's public, you will not get this, because public endpoints, they're only present when the user is authenticated. If your proxy is public, unauthenticated requests will not have these headers, right? So I don't know under what circumstances I would ever have a public endpoint, because I also would I want to be able to spin up and spin down my resources. I mean, I would have to have like a persistent VM. Feels like it would be such a burden for that. So I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind later. But special authentication URLs. So the following special URLs are available for authentication flows. Oh, neat. So it's your VM host __ exec.dev, and it redirects to user login, returns the specified path. Okay, cool, because you can put that path for the redirect path. Clever. Logout is _ exec.dev/logout. It removes the cookie from your domain. Great. Let's see, development. If you're using an agent for development, your server might be listening, for example, and nothing is providing these headers. Use HTTP proxy to add headers. If you're using an agent for development on your server might be listening, for example, on localhost 8000, and nothing is providing these headers. Use an HTTP proxy to add the headers for testing. Oh, cool. Yeah, so if you're doing local development on that host itself, you want to be able to test for this in this way. You can pass those in, and that's neat. Okay, and that's where that man-in-the-middle dump tool that we saw getting installed earlier. Only specified email addresses to access a protected location. Clever. So in here, I'm saying, hey, only if the email address is this or this are you allowed. Otherwise, access denied. Very cool. LLM gateway. Every exec.dev VM has access to the LLM gateway, a built-in proxy to Anthropic, OpenAI, Fireworks AI. Your subscription includes a monthly token allocation, and you can purchase additional tokens at exec.dev/user. The gateway is available inside of the VM. Shell uses the large language model gateway by default, but you can also use it directly from program running in your VM. Put your request to the gateway URL instead of the provider. Neat. Of course, as you remember, there was recently a gateway hack that came out, and so it's always interesting to think about like what is happening where when you're doing things, but these are super useful. Full list of supported models. Let's see. Yep, Claude 4.7. And then how do I buy more tokens? So Shelly. Okay, then I can buy extra credits here. Large language model usage, none this period. Okay, so let's go back. Regions. This is interesting. I wonder what these line up to, like what hosting provider these are on. So that'd be interesting to find out how their network infrastructure and internet infrastructure is configured. Exec.dev API is SSH. You know, I actually wonder. Let me see. This looks, and this could just be me going down a rabbit hole. Let's see. Exec.dev. This looks oddly similar to. It almost feels like they're maybe on fly.io, but maybe I could be wrong. It just feels similar for whatever reason, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking at this in a funny way. I'd be really interested in seeing what these regions are tied to. It's not fly. At least this is what I'm asking Claude. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that's right. Because Claude does they use Dallas, New York, things like that. Oh, okay. What they're actually running on. Okay, there's a lookup here. The rise of the micro VMs. A look at exec. Oh, okay. Let's look at this. Neat. Okay, so there's actually in December. In December they have things here, and these looks like they're using Kata containers plus Cloud Hypervisor on EC2. Interesting. Spinning up full EC2 instance often feel like overkill. Using Kata containers and a Cloud Hypervisor. What is Kata containers? This is just so many cool things. Let's see. Kata Containers is an open source container runtime building lightweight virtual machines that seamlessly plug into your container ecosystem. That's super cool. I know I had heard of Kata containers, but I've actually never used them. That's really so it's AWS bare metal with their own micro VM control plane. That's neat. And then they also are using something called SSH Piper. It's a reverse proxy for SSHD. Gosh, there's so many cool projects that I'm just. And what's TG123? Okay. Follow. Just rabbit hole that I've been going down. This is really neat. Speed of containers. That's super neat. Okay. The security red flag institution, the instruction to SSH directly into an unknown domain triggered significant security. I'm not going to SSH into a random server. Became common sentiment. Oh, that's funny. For many security conscious engineers, the idea of connecting to an opaque host without prior vetting felt like poor hygiene. Yeah, this is very interesting. Best for agentic workloads. SSH first. Yeah, this is really neat. The future of little software. Yeah, I agree with this. This is really a cool idea. Really cool idea. Okay, let's go back to where we were. So authentication. So we set up SSH keys. This is so cool. Receive email. What is this? Your VM can receive emails. What the heck? Okay. I enable this. SSH exe.dev share receive email VM name on. And you just put in your mailer. This is great. Once enabled, any email sent, This is very funny and very cool. Emails are delivered to mailed in the mailed format. Emails include injected, delivered to. Oh, that's so funny. No spam, virus, or phishing or safety checks. We only deliver the bits. Yeah, you gotta be careful with that. No custom domains. Strict receiving rules. Mail that fails authentication may be rejected. 1 megabyte maximum message size. So this is not for, yeah. And then delivered emails must be processed promptly. Yeah, this is just really bare bones, but very, very cool. It's very interesting, and it's very interesting that this is a part of this. Your VMs can send emails with your VM as the owner. No way. Okay, so email send, and then that's it. Oh, that's so cool. That's great. Okay, so we've gotten through introduction and features. There's a lot in here. I don't think we're going to make it through everything today. Integrations. Integrations connect your exe.dev VM to other services securely and flexibly. So there's an HTTP proxy integration, inject headers into the HTTP requests. And then there's the GitHub integration. Works with private repos without managing tokens. That's phenomenal. What's the integrations page? Stripe, ClickHouse, Postmark. Connect your VMs to external services. I see. So if I have this, and then I'll say like, yeah, my API, and then I attach it to, okay, this one. Fill in the name and target. Fill in the name. Test. Integrations add. Neat. GitHub. I'm not going to do that right now. Postmark. Very cool. ClickHouse. Very cool. Okay. That's neat. I'm going to have to look into that more later. I'll go ahead and bookmark that. Let's see. HTTP proxy. This can be useful to interact with an API that requires a bearer token. For example, the following snippet creates, attaches, and uses the HTTP integration. So I make this thing, and then I curl this. Let's see, HTTP bin. Then my VM name curl. SSH. Okay, so SSH VM my name curl. I'm gonna curl this. Interesting. The HTTP proxy integration supports HTTP basic auth as well. That's super cool. Prettiest of them all. The header is prettiest of them all, me. And I'm attaching it to that. The header is prettiest of them all, me. Prettiest of them all, me gets attached. I'm attaching it to that. The header when I curl, of them all, me. Prettiest of them all, me gets attached. I'm attaching it to that. The header when I curl, of them all, me. Prettiest of them all, me. I'm attaching really. The header when I curl, of them all, me. Prettiest of them all, me. I'm attaching really. The header when I curl, of them all, me. Prettiest of them all, me. I'm attaching really. The The header when I create them all needs to this. Tabs GitHub. The header when I create them repositories tabs. Tabs GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me tabs GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me button. Tabs GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, hey, allow tabs GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, hey, allow tabs GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, hey, allow tabs GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, hey, allow tabs GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, hey, allow tabs GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created GitHub. Cool. Okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created
Yeah, so if you
okay, so this gives me basically saying, so you basically created
yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically created
Yeah, so if you could growth dot Shelly.
so you basically
Yeah.
I am excited. I think I'm definitely going to use exe.dev and see where that takes us. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great day. And I'll see you in a month. I'm doing these once a month. So talk to you later.